Just off the southern tip of Japan, beneath the glassy surface of the East China Sea, lies something few dare to explain. Carved beneath the waters of Yonaguni Island is a structure that defies nature, or perhaps redefines it. It was 1986 when Hiroshi Arataki, a local diver and tour guide, first glimpsed the impossible. Enormous stone steps descending into darkness, too symmetrical, too deliberate. He thought he discovered a forgotten shrine, or perhaps a geological illusion. But photographs began to circulate. The story made waves, literal and figurative. Scientists, skeptics, and seekers all turned their eyes to the sea. What they saw raised more questions than answers. Submerged beneath 80 feet of water was a formation so massive, so eerily constructed, that it seemed like a sunken monument. Clean lines, flat plains, angles too perfect to dismiss. Corridors that stretched beyond visibility. Walls that echoed architecture, not randomness. A question was born, and it has never been silenced. Is this the hand of nature, or the ghost of an ancient civilization long erased? As divers descend into the cool blue world below, they find not chaos, but precision. The deeper they go, the more defined the mystery becomes. If this is nature, why does it feel like memory? To some, Yonaguni is simply geology at work, a formation born of tectonic pressure, sedimentary layering, and thousands of years of erosion. The ocean, after all, is a patient sculptor. And stone, given time, will split and fracture in remarkable ways. But others see a deeper pattern. Marine archaeologists, alternative historians, and open-minded skeptics observe far more than coincidence. They see terraces cut with logic, platforms that seem aligned with solar positions, pathways and steps that follow the spatial logic of ceremonial architecture seen on land, ziggurats, plazas, even temple grounds. And then, the markings. Symbols carved into surfaces, some resembling arrows, others like characters no scholar can decipher. No one has confirmed their purpose, but they stir ancient memory. Were they language? Maps? Records? The anomalies multiply. Divers speak of strange sensations as they descend, currents that shift, light that refracts, in ways difficult to measure. Some claim fish avoid the sight. Others feel a stillness, like being watched, not by eyes, but by time itself. Could this site have once stood above sea level, the center of a vibrant culture before the sea reclaimed it? In every groove and gap, some see intention. Others see erosion. But standing amid the silence, many agree, this doesn't feel accidental. There's too much order, too much intelligence, too much presence. Yonaguni is not just an underwater anomaly, it's a mirror reflecting everything we don't know about our own past. Whether natural or man-made, it challenges the timeline we cling to and the boundaries we thought defined human civilization. If it is a natural formation, it forces us to reconsider the elegance of Earth's design, how chaos can mimic intention, how stone can deceive the eye. But if it is artificial, it rewrites everything. Some call it Mu, a mythical lost continent. Others whisper of Atlantis, not as legend, but as scattered truth. Could seafarers from a forgotten era have built temples, mapped the skies, and left behind monuments destined to be swallowed by the sea? No scripture tells their story. No textbook includes their name. But the stones, they remember. Beneath the weight of salt and time, they endure, silent, unmoving, undeniable. They don't ask to be believed. They simply are, waiting. The ocean is vast, but it is not careless. It buries, yes, but also preserves. And now, the burden falls to us, not just to discover, but to question. To wonder if this is the past resurfacing, not to explain itself, but to remind us who we are. Perhaps the past is not lost. Perhaps it has been waiting just below the surface, in the quiet rhythm of the sea. Beneath the waves of Yonaguni, the debate runs deeper than stone. Some scientists see cracks, fault lines shaped by the relentless push of tectonic plates, chiseled by time, pressure, and erosion. Clean breaks, angular joints, fractures that mimic intention. This, they say, is geology at work. Nature is the sculptor. It needs no help from man. But others challenge that notion. They see geometry, measured, deliberate, impossible to dismiss as coincidence. Terraces spaced like platforms. Corridors that run straight and stop sharply. Steps that descend with purpose before disappearing into the sand. Alignments that mimic ancient ceremonial layouts found in Egypt, in Peru, in Cambodia. The geologist points to layers of sediment, to marine currents and seismic shifts. The architect counters with proportions, symmetry, and spatial logic found in temple design. A trench mirrors a processional path. A stairway breaks off, not from collapse, but as if frozen mid-construction. Two truths are presented. Both are supported by data. And yet, they remain at odds, irreconcilable. In university lecture halls and peer-reviewed journals, the mystery is categorized as explained. A quirk of coastal geology. But on the seafloor, among the shadows, it still pulses with questions. In the minds of those who dive there, the story is not resolved. It's just beginning. Because not all answers are found in textbooks. Some wait in silence. What if what we see is only the beginning? What if most of the truth lies deeper, buried under centuries of shifting silt, sediment, and silence? There are no inscriptions here, no pottery shards, no human remains. The classic signatures of man are absent. But then again, Troy showed nothing until someone dared to dig. Our understanding of ancient history has long followed a tidy path. From Mesopotamia to Egypt to Greece and Rome. A linear ascent, predictable, orderly. But Yonaguni doesn't fit. It's an intrusion, a formation that demands we reconsider what we thought we knew. Some divers speak of an energy, a stillness that isn't empty but expectant. like walking into a temple with the breath of ceremony still hanging in the air. Skeptics call it pseudoscience, fantasy dressed as fact. But intuition is the oldest tool humanity has. Before compasses, before clocks, before writing, we sensed, we remembered. Perhaps these stones endure not to prove, but to provoke. Each right angle whispers a challenge. Each shadowed stare asks, if not natural, then whose hands made this? And if no one made it, then why does it feel so intentional? The stones don't argue. They don't explain. They endure. And in their stillness, they keep asking. If Yonaguni was shaped by human hands, it would change the very foundation of what we believe about our past. It would mean that sophisticated culture, architecture, perhaps even civilization, existed long before we've allowed ourselves to imagine. If it's natural, then nature itself has far more precision, symmetry, and mystery than we've given it credit for. Either way, it challenges what we think we know. But maybe the real question isn't whether it's man-made or natural. Maybe the question is, why are we so unwilling to explore the possibility that it might be both? The ocean remembers. It holds the ruins of forgotten cities. It protects secrets that drift between myth and truth. It carries blueprints, carved not in ink, but in current and stone. What if Yonaguni was built not to be seen, but to be rediscovered? Perhaps it was meant to survive flood and time, meant to be hidden until the world was ready to ask the right questions. We've ignored it, labeled it, moved on. But truth does not drown. It waits for open eyes, for minds brave enough to listen without agenda. Maybe Yonaguni doesn't need to be solved. Maybe it just needs to be heard. Because sometimes it's not the answer that changes history. It's the willingness to ask again. For centuries, names like Mu, Lemuria, and Atlantis have drifted between legend and disbelief. Written off as myths, they've lived on in ancient texts, whispered traditions, and the quiet faith of those who remember. In Okinawa, elders still tell of a sunken city. Tamil scriptures describe Lemuria as humanity's origin. Plato spoke of Atlantis, powerful, advanced, and gone in a single night beneath the sea. Now, off Japan's coast, the Yonaguni ruins rise like a voice from the deep. Angular terraces carved in stone. Broad steps leading into darkness. Archways aligned with the sun, as if still waiting to be recognized. Some call it nature's work, rock shaped by time and tectonics. But others see symmetry too exact, patterns too intentional. A temple, perhaps, a plaza, or a monument meant to endure? What if these aren't signs of erosion, but preservation? Maybe Yonaguni isn't just an archaeological site. Maybe it's a threshold where history and memory briefly meet. A fragment of something larger, lost beneath sediment and doubt. Not fantasy, not fiction, but a memory carved in stone, waiting to be remembered, What if this isn't a discovery at all, but a return? Across the world's oldest cultures, one story repeats: a great flood that ended everything. For centuries, we called it myth. But science now agrees. Around 12,000 years ago, as the Ice Age ended, glaciers melted, seas surged, and entire coastlines vanished. Islands disappeared. Civilizations may have too. What else did the water take with it? Beneath the ocean, we find clues, not just in stone structures, but in symbols. Spirals, suns, waves, triangles. Etched into rock from Yonaguni to the Andes, from India to Polynesia. These weren't just art. They were messages, warnings from people who watched the seas rise. Maybe Yonaguni isn't a puzzle to solve, but a message to decode. Could these symbols have carried memory across oceans, across time? A global echo of the same catastrophe, etched in geometry, left to remind us of what came before and what may come again. Some call it coincidence. Others see a forgotten network, not linked by trade, but by trauma. What if Yonaguni is just one voice in a chorus of sunken stories? Perhaps myth is memory, and erosion, design. Maybe the waves didn't only destroy, they preserved. And in the silence of stone, the past still speaks, waiting for us to remember what we once knew. We like to think we were the first to explore, to map the stars, to send signals across the void. But maybe we're not pioneers. Maybe we're inheritors of something far older than we've allowed ourselves to believe. The structures at Yonaguni don't beg for attention. They simply exist. Corridors carved with precision, plazas aligned to the sun, patterns built in silence. This isn't erosion. It's intention. A message not written in words, but in ratio and form. What if Yonaguni isn't a ruin left behind by collapse, but a monument to continuity? A sanctuary swallowed by time, still waiting for those who remember how to read stone. Earth doesn't shout its truths, it whispers them. In alignment, in pressure, in patience. Yonaguni whispers still, just beneath the waves, holding its secrets like breath. We think memory lives in minds, but what if it also lives in stone? What if Yonaguni isn't the start or the end, but a pause, a message frozen mid-sentence by a world that once knew what was coming? When we rise from these depths, one truth lingers: the past isn't lost. It waits, beneath us, in silence. And that silence is asking something of us. Because what lies below isn't just architecture, it's a mirror, a warning, and maybe an invitation to return. Beneath the ocean's surface, Yonaguni doesn't look like a ruin, it feels like a riddle. Its carved steps and perfect angles don't seem natural. This isn't erosion, it's intentional. Quartz runs through basalt. Magnetite lines up with Earth's magnetic field. The layout resembles acoustic chambers, structures built not just to stand, but to resonate. Some call it acoustic circuitry. Others dismiss it. But inside Yonaguni, sound behaves strangely, echoing longer than it should, bouncing unnaturally. Could it have been a generator? Not of power, but of harmony. Ancient cultures believed sound shaped reality. Vibration could build, destroy, or heal. Today, science explores the same with cymatics and frequency mapping. The tools changed. The idea didn't. Frequency is power. Maybe Yonaguni wasn't just architecture, but a machine. A living system carved to hold energy. A structure built with purpose. It challenges how we define progress. Maybe ancient builders weren't primitive, just tuned to forces we no longer hear. The sea may have silenced the machine, but not its message. Across continents and forgotten empires, sacred sites like Teotihuacan, the Great Pyramids, and Stonehenge follow a hidden rhythm, geometry aligned not just to stars, but to frequency. Yonaguni joins this silent symphony. Its carved trenches resonate like tuning forks. Some walls turn whispers into long, haunting echoes. Grooves align with fault lines, as if listening to the Earth's deep voice. These structures aren't just ruins, they're instruments. Ancient builders may have understood what we're only now rediscovering. Sound shapes matter. Water dances to tone. Sand shifts with vibration. If frequency creates form, Yonaguni is a blueprint, designed not for sight, but for sound. No wires, no engines, yet strange pulses ripple through stone. Some mimic solar flares. Others stay localized, like echoes from the past. Seen from above, it resembles a buried circuit still humming. Not a monument, but a message, waiting to respond. Yonaguni may not be a monument or a lost city. It could be something far more rare and more essential, a node in an ancient energy grid. Not symbolic, but functional. Not myth, but measurable design. Its terraces resemble the layered plates of a capacitor. Its chambers behave like harmonic filters. Every groove, every angle may have once directed flows of water, sound, or energy. At the heart lies a square depression, still and precise. Some believe it served as a control center, a regulator of pulses that amplified Earth's own vibrations. And Yonaguni isn't alone. From this site, alignments stretch to Nan Madol, Baalbek, and the Andes. Not random, not legend, but geometric memory etched into the planet. Perhaps Mu, Lemuria, and Atlantis were fragments of a resonance-based civilization, one that tuned the Earth instead of ruling it. It collapsed. The sea buried its system, But Yonaguni remains silent, intact, and maybe waiting. Across the oceans, buried beneath sediment and silence, a global pattern begins to stir. From Yonaguni's terraces to Giza's solar alignments, from stone mandalas to Mayan spirals, civilizations that never met echoed the same sacred designs. Not coincidence. Signatures. Fragments of an ancient, intelligent system. These structures don't just align with stars, they resonate with frequency, geometry, and Earth's forgotten hum. Ley lines aren't myths. They're memory, drawn in stone, passed through time. Yonaguni, with its submerged precision, may be a missing node in a global harmonic grid, a system once tuned to the planet itself. What if these ruins aren't evidence of collapse, but parts of a sleeping machine? And what if Mu, Lemuria, and Atlantis weren't myths, but fragmented data, still trying to speak? Yonaguni doesn't just challenge archaeology, it challenges memory. Because beneath the waves may lie a key, a pulse, waiting to be remembered. Perhaps we're not discovering Yonaguni, perhaps it's rediscovering us. Around the world, people report a strange sense of recognition, visions, dreams, a pull towards symbols they've never studied, places they've never seen. What if this isn't coincidence? What if it's reactivation, a memory carried not in books but in DNA, water, and vibration? We see ourselves as explorers. But maybe the Earth is reaching back, testing if we're ready. Yonaguni's carvings and chambers may not be ruins, but tuning forks for consciousness designed to awaken, not explain. Yonaguni doesn't shout. It hums, a frequency not heard, but felt. Ancient builders may have known what we're only beginning to grasp. That vibration shapes matter, and intention shapes energy. To live in harmony with the earth isn't poetry, it's physics. And when that harmony is lost, the earth doesn't punish us. She goes quiet. But silence, too, is a message, waiting to be heard. This isn't a ruin. It's a message, not a relic, but a reminder. Yonaguni doesn't give us answers. It opens a doorway, one shaped by questions. Who were they? What did they know? And what were they trying to preserve? Maybe they knew they'd be forgotten, that seas would rise. But stone endures. Vibration may fade, but it doesn't vanish. They carved a system into the earth, not to defy time, but to survive it. It was never about proving myth. It was about feeling the pattern. We've reached into space and code. But true advancement may lie inward, through a wisdom network not of wires, but resonance. As ancient lines glow beneath the waves, we realize Yonaguni never needed to be found. It needed to be felt. Its hum continues, soft, steady, waiting. Because this isn't the end of the story. It's where it begins again.